Testing 1 2 3. I just wanted to make a quick video as the mood struck me here at 1:22 a.m. on a Tuesday, technically, about Angry Joe and Jimquisition, two yahoos who never met a mob they didn't love to join. And in this particular instance, it's about Angry Joe's Fallout 76 Angry review. Now, Fallout 76, I don't know anything about this game, and the people who don't agree with my opinion can jump all over me because I don't know anything about this game. But the point is, I don't care. That's actually a positive in my opinion. I don't have to know anything about this game to know what Angry Joe is going to think about it, because there's a mob that dislikes Fallout 76. I don't know, it's some microtransactions, or it's buggy, or I don't even know what they're mad about. And we can always guess that when there's a mob, which side is Angry Joe going to be on? Oh, I wonder. You know, that's a tough one. No, I don't wonder. And if you look at the thread, he scored Fallout 76 a 3 of 10, and he's going to pile on with the mob like he always does, because that's his job, and that's how he makes money. And it's hilarious to me that these guys who make their livings criticizing corporations in video gaming for being greedy are, at the end of the day, all about the dollar, the almighty dollar only. That's what Angry Joe's about. That's what Jimquisition's about. And these guys make lots and lots and lots of money. Angry Joe makes lots of money. I'm sure he's pulling in, over 100 grand would be just the beginning. I don't know exactly how much, but my guess would be, I don't know, would it be crazy to say he's pulling in $500,000 a year? I mean, he's got tons of Patreons. He probably owns some big, media company type thing. These guys are rich, really rich. Jimquisition, I forget, but his Patreon is like $30,000 a month or something alone, something like that. So, and that's just the tip of the iceberg, because you don't even know how many sponsorships these guys have. Their YouTube channels are just raking in the revenue. I'm positive about that. Because you got to think, a big channel like these, they're not only putting out new videos, but all their old videos are constantly accumulating views. So if you have like 100 videos or something like that, like Angry Joe probably has, they're all getting watched by a few thousand more people every week or so. And you add that up, you're talking like, I don't know, 1 million views or something, just for his back catalog of videos all the time. They're just constantly raking in the views and ad revenue from YouTube, Twitch, Patreon, whatever else they're on. Just huge sponsorships, I promise you that. So guys like Angry Joe and Jimquisition are filthy freaking rich, and they're raking in the cash. And it's quite lucrative pandering to the mob, At the end of the day, that's the bottom line. It's quite lucrative pandering to the mob. And that's what these guys do. And like I say, I'm just disappointed because I get Angry Joe, Fallout 76 Angry Review. And I already know what he's going to say. I already know he's going to go off on it. I already know he's going to pile on. There's something wrong with the fact that I know what Angry Joe is going to say before Angry Joe says it. Or at least I know his general opinions about a game going to be. I know he's not going to like Fallout 76, and he's probably going to go way overboard bashing it. Why? Because there's a big mob against Fallout 76 right now. And it's the fashionable thing to do, and it's the popular thing to do. And all the video game YouTube guys are doing it. So, is Angry Joe going to be different and give an honest? No, he's going to just... It's so tiresome, It's so tiresome. Like, I wish these guys would fall off the face of the earth, to be honest. I don't care what you think. I don't care about your anger. And have fun swimming in your mounds of cash from your garbage, opinions that always mimic the mob perfectly. Funny how that is. And people will probably say like, oh, he had this unpopular review. Oh, he rated this game. One of the things that was mentioned in the Reset Era thread was that he, as an unpopular opinion Angry Joe gave, was that he gave Breath of the Wild a 7 of 10. Oh my goodness, What a brave guy. he gave a very positive score to Breath of the Wild. That totally proves he's completely independent. Give me a break. Let's see him give Breath of the Wild a 3 of 10. Like he gives Fallout 76 because the mob doesn't like Fallout 76. No, he would never dare to give Breath of the Wild a 3 of 10. You know, because the mob would have just killed him. So he might give it some lukewarm. Oh, it's a good game, but it has this and this problem I don't like. That's the worst he'll do to some game like that. You know, he's never going to bash it. You know, that was Angry Joe, grow some balls. And if you come out of the blue and you give like some big Sony exclusive a 3 of 10, or if you give some big Nintendo exclusive a 3 of 10, I mean, it's easy to give Microsoft exclusives a 3 of 10 because they're not popular. Microsoft, you know, Sony fanboys outnumber Microsoft fanboys like 50 to 1 on the internet. And, you know, so give a what was the last Sony exclusive? I already forgot because they're so garbage. Oh, Spider-Man. Give Spider-Man a 3 of 10. Angry Joe. Let's see how that goes for you, buddy. You know, I'm just tired of it. These guys are a joke. These guys are. You need to understand. You know, it's obvious. These guys are about money. They're about greed. And some of the points in this guy's freaking video here. Let's see. No, Jimquisition was the one I wanted to look at. Jimquisition. Where the fuck's it at? Jimquisition. There was a thread about Jimquisition somewhere on here where he's piling on the microtransactions bullshit. The gambling problem. And I really wanted to, I hate this guy so much, Jimquisition. So I wanted to go ahead and tackle this shit. This guy who gets filthy rich off of, oh, microtransactions are so bad. Oh, microtransactions are the worst. And, you know, I've stated it before, so I probably shouldn't go into it all over again, but there's so much wrong with these idiots because, first of all, you dedicate your life, buddy, to fighting video game microtransactions. Like, kill yourself, dude. Like, what the fuck, you know? Out of all the problems in the world, do you know where video game microtransactions rank? I think they rank about number 550 billion and 6, you know? I mean, come on. But yet I wish these people would care 1/50th as much about what the federal government is doing to their freedoms, their rights, you know, as they do, oh, loot boxes. Oh my gosh, Ubisoft made loot boxes in their new game. Oh, let me clutch my pearls. Oh, they made loot boxes. Oh, people are free to buy something. Oh no, this can't stand. They made crappy loot boxes. Okay, don't buy it. That's the great thing about free enterprise and capitalism, Jim. Don't buy it. But you know what you don't have a choice about? Your government. The government doesn't give you an option to not buy what they're peddling, you know? Yeah, so, you know, like I said, I know the deal. I know Jimquisition's filthy rich. And, you know, I get it. He has swimming pools of money by pandering to the mob, and he's not going to stop, and that's fine. It's not fine. I mean, I'm going to criticize it, but it's just hilarious to me that these guys who stand up there is, I'm the arbiter of morals. I'm the good man who stands against these greedy corporations. Hey, donate to my Patreon. It's already making $30K a month, you know? Hey, give me dollars. The very thing I criticize others for taking. And, oh yes. Let's see. How many times has this guy been at Ubisoft, by way of a PR rep, has defended loot boxes after people found them distasteful in Trials Rising. They hammered through both usual and unusual excuses and did so in a way that truly offended my senses. Truly offended your senses. What a shock, the thing that the mob doesn't like truly offended your senses. And, you're a wilting flower, aren't you, Jim? You were truly offended. How many times have you been offended by microtransactions before? I think about 1 billion, since that's your entire, that's your entire persona, is bashing microtransactions. So, you were truly offended. Somehow I can't quite believe that, Jim. I think you pretty much know the score, and I don't think you were truly offended. I think you were, very, very thinking about your bank account as usual. And, another thing is, oh, this is more the poster, I guess, than Jim. So I can't really bash Jim for this because I don't know what his opinions were in the video because I'm not going to watch the stupid video. But this idiot here, again, he is right about this. Microtransactions, particularly those that use virtual currency in our loot boxes, are predatory, manipulative, and exploitative. Okay, well, I don't buy the game. And, who says? I don't mind microtransactions. I've been a gamer all my life. I almost never even encounter microtransactions. I'm not trying to say they don't exist or aren't a problem, but, in the grand scheme of things, they're just so overblown. Then he goes on to say there's a better way to deal with inflated budgets than these funny money stores. Wait, inflated budgets? What is he talking about? So, this is the forum that's all mad about people having to work crunch for these corporations, right? They get all mad because, oh my god, Ubisoft made people work crunch, or whatever it was. The recent example was Rockstar. Those people have to be paid, You know how you get rid of crunch? You hire more employees, which takes more money. Where are they going to get this money if they're, where are they going to get this money? It's just all a joke. There really shouldn't be microtransactions at all on full-priced retail titles. Says who? Here's the thing. I've gone through this before too, and I hate to go through it. And then he says, but if they must continue with their inflated budgets. What? How is it, it's so arrogant. Like, it's their fault for their inflated. But what does that mean? This is a free market, bro. They inflate their budgets because people are willing to pay for it. Why are people willing to pay for it? Because they're making a good game. What is this inflated budgets? Why don't I say like something I don't like? Let me say, if Medicare must continue with its inflated budget and giving all these old people health care, what does that mean? What inflated budget? What? It doesn't even. If SG-17 poster at Reset Era, must continue with his inflated budget to pay for his fancy house every month, when he should be living in a crappy one-bedroom apartment. You know what I mean? What is an inflated budget? It's the dumbest thing. I don't know what he's trying to say. Inflated budget? That's a product in the marketplace. If they want to spend $300 million on a game and they think they can make their money back, good for them. What is an inflated budget? He's acting like, oh my gosh, people are so stupid. They should at least be more ethical about it and stop at the manipulative virtually currency. What a unique take, dude. I've never heard that 10 billion times before. Give me a break. So yeah, just, here's the thing. Like I've been saying, microtransaction, the price of a game has stayed steady at $60, right? Roughly. I am very old. I remember buying a Super Nintendo game in I think it was like 92. That's how old I am. I don't remember what year, but it was in the 90s. And I wanted this game so bad because I loved the first Final Fantasy, right? And it was Final Fantasy 3 on the Super Nintendo. Man, did I want that game so bad. And I went to the store. And it was Walmart. And I will remember this forever. And after tax, that game in the 90s, it had probably like 92, whenever that game came out, it was $73. $73 after tax. I'll remember that amount forever. In like 1992. Here's the thing. There's this little thing called inflation people don't ever seem to realize, or they just wave away. So there's different ways to measure inflation, but there's a federal government official inflation figure as well. I believe it's on the order of like 1.7% per year. Now, most free market economists will tell you that's way, way, way low. That's the official number, but the real number is much higher. I remember hearing a long time ago that the actual amount, so this would be the true inflation, that the government increases the money supply every year is like 10 or 12%. So that's your true inflation figure, like 12% a year. It could be that high anyway, I don't know this. But the official government figure is some lowballed figure of like 1.7%, right? So, if you just take that 1.7% figure and you figure every year from like 1992 when I bought that game, and you figure it, you apply it. Let me see here. See, compound interest calculator. And you take this. Alright, let's say you had, let me see, hold on. Final Fantasy 3. Let me Google this. See when it came out. Oh, even way earlier than I thought. April 27, 1999. Well, that maybe have been in Japan. This may have been... Okay, well this was the... Yeah. Okay, this is the one I bought. Okay, 1994. Let's just figure that. So it's been 26 years. Let's put $73 in here for principal. Of course, no annual addition. So from 94 is 24 years. So 24 years. And let's put the interest rate at the government's extremely conservative 1.7. That's okay. That game would be $109 today. $109. Do you get where I'm going with this? But what's a game cost today? $60. And now I can tell you another thing. I've gone through this rant before, but if you look at what a Super Nintendo game had versus, let's say I'm looking forward a lot to Cyberpunk 2077. The difference in the scope and scale and amount of work that went into Cyberpunk 2077 and like a Super Nintendo game in 1994, even a big RPG like Final Fantasy 3, it's almost incalculable. It's probably 1,000 times. You know, like it's almost incalculable, the difference between those two games. You know, in Final Fantasy, you had 2D graphics. You know, it probably took just a few artists to make the whole game. You know, think about it. You're drawing 2D sprites. This is the graphics. You know, look at this. This is the graphics. Somebody just drew this. It's not that hard, you know. You get my point, and I don't know how many people were in the Final Fantasy 3 development team in 1984, but I'm guessing it was 40, you know? How many people are on the Cyberpunk 2077 team? Depending on how you count it, it's probably 1,000, you know, for years and years and years. You see what I'm getting at here? The amount of effort that goes into these games now is monumental compared to what they were back in the Super Nintendo days. And this is a complicated Super Nintendo game. What was big on the Super Nintendo and the Sega Genesis was 2D shooters. They had no multiplayer. Like, I can't even fathom the differences. Like, it's boggling my mind just thinking about it. They didn't have multiplayer. They didn't have online. They didn't have anything. You would buy a 2D shooter, you got like, maybe you got different difficulty levels if you were lucky. You got a 4 to 6 hour blast-a-thon. You know, like an overhead shooter or a side-scrolling shooter. Again, I'm old enough to remember when those were like the first-person shooters of the day. Those were the common games because that's what's popular in Japan. You know? So you're talking about those games were like 4 to 6 hours. People want to make it out like, oh, back in the day games were a lot more deep. Maybe some of them. There's much more deep games now too. There's all kinds. But there were a huge genre of games that were like 4-hour long shooters back then. You know, there was no, like, I can't even begin to imagine the difference in complexity. Look at a game I play a lot, Destiny. Oh my lord. It's got a huge multiplayer. It's got a huge PvE. It's got raids. It's got beyond insane amounts of stuff. You know, it's got like 9 planets, and it's got these quests and patrols and 50 campaign levels between the original Destiny 2 for say all the expansions each had, a handful of campaign levels. Add them together and it's 40 or 50 campaign levels. It's strikes, 10, 15 strikes. It's multiplayer maps, 20, 30 different a whole incredibly complex and tuned and balanced multiplayer, all match made at your fingertips with players around the world. It's got a raid, it's got cooperative, the graphics are absurd. The systems are unbelievably complex. They can go in there and tune your pulse rifle's stability. This makes it a little more stable when you fire, less recoil. And that little difference translates into making a better weapon in the game. Every weapon has 6 stats right off the 10 stats, I think. They have handling, reload speed, stability, impact, what else? Aim assist. They have a stat for every one of those. There's more. I forgot them. There's look at this. I'll just bring up my Destiny item manager. Look at this. This is my loadout of guns in this game. Look at this. This represents thousands of hours of playtime. Look at all this stuff. I've got all these Nightfall Challenge card, Fireteam Medallion, Pure Matter Glass Lens consumable, Rainmaker consumable, Boon of the Vanguard. I know what every one of these things does. If you don't play Destiny, you probably don't. Every one of these things has a purpose. Scouting Report Nessus, Resonant Stem consumable, Enhancement Core material, Mod component. There's a whole complicated system based around modding your guns on top of the unbelievably complex weapon system to begin with. Alkane Dust. There's all these currencies. Barian Bow, Crucible Token, expired Raymond coupon. That's something you get. Stupid. Look at these mods. Super mod. You can go into depth, into the weeds, customizing your character. Oh, I want a super. My newest build is a super based build. Shaders. Look at all these. All this stuff. Ships, sparrows, emblems out the ass. And this is a tiny fraction of your emblems, because the emblems work in the game is when you dismantle them, they go to something called your collections. So there's 500 more emblems that aren't shown in this little group. And the same for all this stuff. Ships, sparrows, not the guns. The ones you see are what you get for the guns. But a lot of this is just scratching the surface of just how many sparrows alone I have. I have 9 here. And each of these has different attributes. Granted, sparrows are not that complicated at all. And ships are basically loading screen flare. But still, you can get transmat effects on it. I mean, this stuff is unbelievably complex. This armor, I can sit here and go oh, I like this rifle. I can sit there and explain to you for hours why I picked all this stuff. My helmet. It's got rocket launcher reserve. That's a great PvE perk. Top S tier PvE perk. Pulse rifle targeting. I tend to run pulse rifles. I want pulse rifle targeting. I can just go for hours describing this. Here's basically what my build is around. These exotic hunter gauntlets. The chest piece perks don't matter that much, but here I want special ammo finder. That's another great PvE perk. Rifle dexterity. That's another great. All this stuff is just so complex. All these guns, every single one of them has a story, and Lord Almighty. And I have 3 characters, and all this. My legendary shards, my glimmer, my resilience, mobility, dexterity. It goes on and on and on. So, the point of it all is just that the games are so complex compared to what they used to be. So, a million times, literally a million times more complex than they used to be. The price is still $60. That's unsustainable. And how do you get around it? Well, there's 2 ways. You raise the price, so you're looking at $70, $80, $90 games, or you try to find other ways to get revenue. Now, there's this crazy thing called the free market. What has the market chosen to do? Well, the publishers have figured out that it's better to go ahead and do microtransactions, do loot boxes, do DLC, try to keep that $60 base price the same. That's the method that's working the best. Let it alone, Because here's the alternative. If what these people wanted, and smart people realize this, if you banned all microtransactions and all this, it'd be impossible anyway. But let's say you did. Then the games either have to start getting crappy because they can't afford to make them good. They can't afford to pour all these thousands of man hours into them. Or you have to, your game's going to cost a minimum $80-$90. Because I've shown you that just the currency has increased this much. So $73 is $109 now. So games should be like $100 now. But that's not accounting for what I was talking about, that the amount of man hours going into games is probably 50 times. I mean, I'm not exaggerating. 50 times as much as a Super Nintendo game with 2D art. And it was probably 4 hours, no multiplayer, no online, no anything. Just as basic as you can be is what those games were. So, now I will say there's one thing kind of balancing that out a little bit, which is the market is much bigger now. So, they can spend $1 billion on Grand Theft Auto 6 because Grand Theft Auto 6 is going to sell 1 billion copies. So, there is a certain amount of that balancing out this fact. Consolidation. There's not as many. Mostly the game market now is made up of Ubisoft, Electronic Arts, Activision. Back in the Super Nintendo days, there were more small publishers, so on and so forth. So it's not a one-to-one comparison, and I get that. But still, when you take everything into account, the amount of value you're getting in these games is absurd. This game, Destiny, I've got, I don't know, it depends on which calculator you use, but like 1,000 hours easy in Destiny 2. Okay, even given that I paid for each expansion, I think I paid for the base game $60. I think I bought two $20 expansions. I bought both of them, Curse of Osiris and Warmind, of course, because I play this game like a fiend. Or I did. I'm on hiatus again because it takes up too much of my life, basically. But okay, so that'd be 100, and then I bought Forsaken expansion for another 40. So, granted, I did spend 140 total in about the past year on Destiny 2. I have not bought one microtransaction because there's nothing that I want that's a microtransaction in this game. Okay, I don't care. There's nothing good in the microtransactions. And most anything you can get free anyway. So, who cares? And most of it's cosmetic, and frankly, I'm not that big on cosmetics. I just don't care that much. I'm into micromanaging my armor for stats, not micromanaging it to look cool. And it's a shame, and I've ranted on it before, that there's not a way to do both in the game. But anyways. So yeah, I don't know what else to say about it, but the amount of effort that goes into games now is 5 million times as much. Even given that, yes, there's consolidation and there's fewer games now. I'll give you that. So that does cancel out some because more people buy each game, so it's more money for the developers. But it's not canceling out the 50 times more effort in these games. It's helping reduce some of that. So instead of 50 times more cost, it's probably, or let's say risk, it's probably 5 times or 10 times. But it's still absurd. And the game is so much cheaper than it used to be. It used to cost $109, now it's $60. Because you don't understand people don't understand the basic concept of inflation. $60 today is not $60 5 years ago. It's like $55 5 years ago. And so on and so forth, Great example. My mom told me when I was a kid that when she was a kid, candy bars were like 5 cents. And it blew my mind at the time. You know how much candy bars cost when she told me that? They were like 35 cents. They were like 33 cents, something like that at the grocery store. And even the gas station. 35 cents. And my mind was blown. I was like, candy bars cost 5 cents when you were a kid? Holy cow. Do you know how much I go into a gas station now and I plop like a Hershey's or a Reese's Pieces on the counter? It's like $1 something. It's like $1.76 or something. Not even king size. It's absurd. So, I don't have kids, but if I did, I could tell them, man, I remember when candy bars were 35 cents. And you're probably getting a smaller crappier candy bar. There's a whole litany of the candy bars today that the size might be smaller, the ingredients are worse, so on and so forth. So do you see what I'm saying? If a candy bar costs 5 times what it used to, why shouldn't a video game? And they don't, and the publishers got to make that money back, and so that's why microtransactions are a thing. They're not evil. The market will take care of it. Stop whining about it. And Jimquisition and Angry Joe are at heart greedy. Greedy, 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 greedy.